Alright, second cut. I really see. I need to just because the thing that I got interrupted for took me like two. I could actually edit out that stuttering too. I think that interrupted me. It took like 5 minutes to do. I could edit out that 5 minutes, but I'm a lazy ass, so I didn't. It is laziness. It's also I don't know how to edit fully, so just kind of one of those things. And a lot of it is just I'm a small YouTuber, and I feel like I don't need to. I don't mind doing a second cut, you know. But let's get on with it, with the library haul. And spoilers, no Ghosted Volume 2. It's still been ghosted. What happened with that? It's not good, it's a library book. But here's the books that did come in today. Starting with the movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's probably the one I watch with my nephew. Maybe like, because he's like 5. We always like to watch like something kiddie. That's pretty kid friendly. He's watched a lot worse. He actually watched It and Deadpool. Yeah. 6 years old. It makes just as much sense to me as it does to all you guys. Anyways, continuing on, The Backstagers. A book that I just kept seeing in the library, and despite the fact that it was written by James Tynion, I was never like, that one. I'm getting that right now. No, like, but I finally got it, and I was like, alright. I read the first issue thus far, and so far it's good. I'll give a better, a full review of it when I read it, but next time. These are the books I just got, for those of you who don't know. DMZ, a series that I always start but never finish. Let's do it justice and actually finish the damn series. I hope they have the full series. I didn't. I'm pretty sure they did, because it seemed like they did. They had like 10 volumes they had. But they don't. They'll probably end up getting the compendiums. Witches. Why isn't this coming back? It's such a damn good series. This is my 50th time reading this series. I didn't get the other Scott Snyder book I was waiting on because it was the wrong book. Instead of Batman Gates of Gotham, and it said it right on the website too. It was Court of Owls. I don't know what that library was as interloans. I don't know what that library was smoking to come up with that to get those two confused. But I got those two confused. Maybe if I put in Court of Owls at that library, come in as Gates of Gotham. Transmetropolitan, a series I loved, but don't remember a whole lot from. Even when I was reading it, I forgot a lot of what happened. Like reading like volume 5, I forget what happened in the first 4 volumes. So I'm gonna reread the series again. And spoilers, there's a comic haul tomorrow from Amazon, and hint, all of them are worn by Warren Ellis. Yes, I know there's allegations against him. You can still buy something from a guy that may or may not have done what he did and may or may not deserve what's happening to him. I've heard arguments on both sides. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just one of those things where you need to hear from both sides, because it's one of those things that maybe someone who's, you know, outing him for this kind of shit, maybe, just maybe, there's a reason for why it happens, you know, for why. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, you know what, I'm gonna say it. From what I've heard, the people that are outing him didn't say anything back then, not because they were scared to, but because they wanted to advance their career. And not because they were scared. No, it's one of those things where you kind of feel like the people that are outing him wanted it. It's what I've heard. It's what I've heard. It's just one of those things where I feel like everyone wants to ignore the facts that have come out. I don't know, but on later subjects, Sin City. That was not planned. It's Volume 5, Family Values, I think it was called. It's Volume 5. Wonder Woman Volume 6. Now this is like between Rebirth and not Rebirth. It's kind of weird. I feel like this kind of cover. I feel like it still is Rebirth. I'm still not Warren Ellis thing. I feel like I'm opening a huge can of worms. Well, this is what happens when you're a smaller YouTuber. You can say whatever the hell you want. Again, it's what I've heard. Speculation. It's just a lot of people are coming out and saying, yeah, maybe maybe he's innocent, you know. Wicked and Divine, the final volume, Volume 9. I did reread. It's my second reread of that series, and again, it's kind of one of those things where I reread it because a lot happened in that series, and I wanted to like remember what happened, but I don't like. I wanted to like make sure, like I wanted to like feel like it was you need to read it again to remember what's going on, but you still can't piece together everything. It's a lot going on. Punk Rock Jesus, and that was terrible. I was like, Punk Rock Jesus, the book that was so glad that came in today. This is a book I kept putting off reading, and I finally picked it up. I'm sure it'll be good. I never thought it'd be bad. It just never piqued my interest. But as of recent, I've been trying to branch out my interests. That's why I've been getting a lot of image books, like buying a lot of image books. Oh, did I use Image? 2 of them, I think, right? Nope, 3. But no, sorry, 2. The Filth by Grant Morrison. Rereading this for the 3rd time. Green Arrow, Volume 6. Again, it's the between Rebirth and Not Rebirth. Maybe it was Not Rebirth. I don't know. That's a little bit better. That's the only light I have right now. Other one the light bulb went out on. Like I don't know where our light bulbs are, and it's just enough lighting for me to where I can see what I'm reading. But I probably will go try and find light bulbs after this. Second Coming, Volume 2, up to. Spoilers, Second Coming, Volume 1 was a major surprise. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Volume 5 of 9, right? Yeah, I'm almost done. God. Skyward Volume 3, again, I reread. A lot of these are reread. I think the last, last 5 have been a lot of reread books. But most of them are probably half and half, honestly. Especially this time around, because I only got, 14 books? Including the ones I have now, but no, I think it was 15. So, including the ones I have now, it's actually 17. Doctor Strange, Volume 3 of 4, and Rocket Raccoon, Volume 1. This is Scotty Young. Oh, there's a little note here. Grease stain, huh? Oh, she removed it. Someone was eating hamburgers or eating some greasy food while they were. I just look at the artwork in this book because it's Scotty Young, and I wasn't a huge ass fan of the artwork in I Hate Fairyland. Which spoilers, no volume 2 of that, and it's not because I didn't have it. I don't like it. Full review is coming up right now. Well, not right now, but might as well review it. I Hate Fairyland. I kind of hated. It was Scotty Young, kind of at his weirdest, because I really liked Middle West enough to where I'm probably gonna get. I mean, one of the books I'm getting tomorrow, they had 2 of the 3 volumes. I decided to get all 3 volumes. So after this, I'll probably get it pretty soon here. But maybe for Christmas, honestly. Maybe I'll wait till then. That's actually a good idea. Give them that long to see if the library will have it. Even though the volume 3 has been out for a long ass time, maybe I can even request it. I don't know. I loved Middle West. Middle West got me into Scotty Young. The longest time I was like, oh yeah, Scotty Young, he baby covers guy, right? Yeah, I'm good. But then I got into his Middle West, and I was like, okay, I'll give this guy a shot. I don't think I've read a whole lot by him actually, other than Middle West. And I Hate Fairyland was just weird. It's one of those books that's like cutesy pie, but it's very silly Billy humor. They say fluff instead of fuck. And it's one of those books, and which is weird because it's, I don't know the going for a thing where in Fairyland you can't say the F word, you can only say this F word. I guess? I don't know. But it was and the humor wasn't great, the characters were kind of annoying, and I know it's the point. But, it's like Deadpool. Deadpool is an annoying character, but he's funny to us and annoying to the other characters, because we would get tired of his antics if we had to hang out with the guy. With Gertrude, it's just, I'm an annoying character, and that's the joke. And to Deadpool, he's at least funny. Gertrude is just kind of, I think he left out one joke in his entire book. That was about it. I didn't care what happened to these characters at all. I don't care if this book got spoiled to me. I just did not care for this book in the slightest, and I will probably never be picking up the series again. I did kind of want to see what happened next, but not enough to read volumes 2, 3, and 2. I just did 2, 3, and 4. A lot of books to read. French Dispatch, the movie, a Wes Anderson movie that just is very basic Wes Anderson for me, and it's not it's weird for me to say that, me coming from a guy who's only watched 3 Wes Anderson movies: Isle of Dogs, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and this. Isle of Dogs remains to be my favorite, probably because it's my first Wes Anderson movie I ever watched. Which is weird because I've been a movie buff for as long as I can remember, and for a long time, longer than I was into comics. So I should have read it, I should have watched it by now. He's seen read. Wind Volume 1 of 2. I swear to God, I'm on the last chapter of Volume 2 today. I'm probably going to finish it today and gotten their full review to you guys today. But I didn't. Volume 1 I was in the middle. So, and to further emphasize what I mean, I read this book 2 times. 3 times. First time I hated it, second time I loved it, third time I was in the middle. I still like it, obviously. I still recommend it. It's kiddie, but it's not too kiddie. It's kind of like actually, it's like a Pixar thing, but darker Pixar. That's the perfect way to explain it. It's like almost like a throwback to all those darker animated films, like kind of like Secret Nim, which I haven't seen, so I can't say, but like, you know what? It's perfect way to explain it is it's Sword in the Stone. It didn't have that annoying character. I've seen a review of it, so technically I've seen the movie. And the reviewer was this nostalgia critic. He always hated how annoying the other character was. It was a side character. It was a girl side character, and she had an annoying voice or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I guess you don't know their voices because it's a book, not a movie. There's no audio. It's all words and pictures. But it feels like a throwback to all those darker Disney, not just Disney. What was the other one? Like, you know, all those darker animated films back in the 80s and 90s, or early 2000s maybe. And it's a good one too. And it does what comics now can't do, and writes a gay character, but the book is not all about him being gay. It's about the actual story. A lot of books now seem to just write books about the gay character, and that's all the book's about. Which, you know, there's a demographic for that. I'm not going to say there's not a demographic for that. There is. But not big enough to where you need to freak out that no one's reading your gay book because no one wants to read that. And there's just a very small group of people. Again, like I said, like I always said, I mean, in general, not a lot of people are reading comics nowadays. You know, at least newer issues. Long Way Down. This is written by Jason Reynolds. And Jason Reynolds, I feel like this is something that he wrote that he would make fun of. And he was being dead serious here. And it threw me off a whole lot. And it was like a manifesto, but like his emo diary. You know, like in the emos write diaries and like everything is blah, everything is bleak. But for what it wasn't bad. It was just, when I finished reading it, I was like, what the hell did I just read? It was very, if you told me that this is the same guy who wrote New Kid, and then the sequel, I forget what the sequel was called, I would have, like, after I read those 2 books, I've been like, did Jason Reynolds just, like, take depressants, like, not antidepressants, depressants? It was just very odd. I know it's a very bad joke, but like it's a very odd book, and it was very depressing, and it was just kind of a mean book too. It was just odd, and it was an interesting story, but it was just too bleak. Like it's kind of like obviously you can write stories that are bleak. Not every book that this guy writes needs to be like peppy and upbeat, but this is just like the total opposite of what he's written before. At least what I've read from him before. It was so good, I still kind of recommend it if you really like Jason Reynolds' writing, but it wasn't like a, oh my god, it was the best book ever. It was just kind of ugly, I guess you'd say. I had the perfect way to describe it before, but I lost it. Boxers, I just skipped over that one. That was a Jean Louis Yang book, and it was pretty damn good. On a scale of, and probably in the middle, I didn't like his American-born Chinese book as much, because it was 3 books in one, squeezed into one, and I just wanted one of them, because they kept saying it was his memoir, and I don't know if it was, because I don't think he met a monkey that talked, and it was a monkey that talked. It wasn't a monkey that talked, it was like a fighting monkey. It was weird. I understood English. It's Samurai Monkey. I forget. I honestly forget that book. I remember I liked the other two stories. There was a story where the Chinese guy visited American school. I liked that. It was pretty funny. But Boxers was a pretty interesting book. I knew nothing what happened with the Boxers. It's apparently based off a true story, and it was very interesting. It was just when one Asian. This is done for a reason. When one chapter is 25 pages and the next is 100 pages, the pacing goes all over the place in that point, especially when you don't know that going in. It's a very small gripe I have with the book. And another one is just that there's something that I feel like I was missing in this story. I think a lot of it has to do with his artwork. Jin Lewin Yang has a very distinct art style, and it kind of fits here, but it also kind of doesn't. It feels too cartoony. And it kind of feels like it's a big, like, parody almost. You know, like how they did back in the day with Marvel, like they had like a strip inside a comic. And it was always meant to advertise their subscription service, but it was also like a little, like, joke kind of comic. It felt like that kind of artwork. And when you're trying to tell a serious story, maybe hire a different artist. You don't have to draw every book you write. I think it was the :01 first books, I think it's called. It's :01 on the side of the book. And I think every book he's written for that publisher, he's also drawn to the artwork for. And again, for Dragon Hoops, it fit, because Dragon Hoops wasn't super serious. And this was always not super serious, too. There was plenty of jokes and plenty of silly shit in it, too. But it was also very, very dark, too. And it's kind of like if Pixar told a story. Kind of weird. And they used the same animation they used for Onward, I guess you could say. I don't know. It was a weird connection to no, you know what? It's like if they did it with My Little Pony, almost. It's an extreme example, but think of it that way. I mean the really cutesy pie animation. Lobo. I like to call it Diet Lobo. This is a new 52 version, and while Cullen Bunn is a good writer, and he does bring some flavor to the series, it's not enough. And I forgot a lot of what happened in the series, and I just finished it today. I forget what happened in the most recent issue. And the entire book itself, really. It's not bad. I am glad I gave it a shot, because I had like the tiniest of tiny interest in reading the story. I might pick up Volume 2, but only if I really feel like it, and only if they have the local library. It's Diet Lobo, and spoilers for a book I don't even recommend you read. They kill off the real Lobo in the first 2 pages, and basically heavily imply that the real Lobo is the Diet Lobo. And the Edward Cullen, for Twilight, those you don't know, and you all do. Lobo. It was just odd, awkward, and it kind of reminded me of those, like, action movies where everything they're trying to do something different, but it ends up being just the same old, and everything's too serious and just stale, honestly. But it's like something that goes stale, but you have something to make it not as stale. Like if chips that go stale, but you eat them with salsa or something like that. I don't know. Actually, that is a perfect way to describe it, because it still tastes bad, but it's not as bad if you eat it stale, regular. Green Arrow. Again, it's just brought down by Benjamin Percy's very obvious political stances. And back in the day, like, it was very easy to know who was the bad guys and who were the good guys and it was still you can still tell, because I'm talking the Denny O'Neil stuff. It was excellent. He's trying to go for that, but he fails because he's very biased. At least back then, they kind of, like, obviously they knew who the bad guys were, but they didn't write them as stereotypical, and they're still, like, they're really competent writers. Benjamin Percy is a pretty competent writer when he's not going into his political views. Look at his Teen Titans series. That was good on its own. Here, and I still like his Green Arrow's run. I still like it enough to keep reading it, obviously. But I just wish he would dial it down on the political shit. I know they did that in the Denny O'Neil years, but I hope you guys can realize the difference between how Daniel O'Neil wrote politics in comics and how someone like Benjamin Percy writes politics in comics. It's very hard to explain, but I'm sure people can do it better than I can. But then they can do it better than I can. Wonder Woman, Volume 5. This is the only volume written so far, I think, at least, because this one's written by James Robinson. The only volume that was written by Shea Fontana. And while it wasn't terrible, I still was glad that it was the only volume that was written by Shea Fontana. Again, it wasn't bad, it was nowhere near as good as Greg Rucka ran, obviously, and it's not because of that I hated it, I just hated it because it wasn't really that great. It was competent, it was basic, and it was, again, it was still good. I still liked it enough to keep reading it, but it wasn't, like, spectacular or anything like that. It was just kind of run-of-the-mill. Honestly, I think from what I've heard we get from Wonder Woman right now, it would probably be a step up than what we get when we have so far, right now for Wonder Woman. Could be wrong. Harley Quinn, this is the Carl Kessel run, and it was very 2000s, but still good enough. This is also the Harley Quinn that a lot of people like. But I've grown up with the current iteration of Harley Quinn, because again, I got into comics when I was 14. 2014 I got into comics, so I'm still pretty new to this game. Sort of new. 8 years is a long time, obviously, but still, it's 8 years. When I was first getting into comics, we were still in New 52, but we were nearing the end of the New 52. And DC Rebirth was coming up just right around the corner. Actually, no, I think we were done with New 52. I think we were in Convergence, right? 2014? I don't know. Those of you who are DC buffs probably know. But I think we're out of New 52 and into Convergence. So never mind then. So in the middle, I should have said. But this one was, it was enjoyable enough. It's just, I feel like the pacing, was very slow. A lot of dialogue. And that's understandable, but from some early 2000s DC books, my favorite DC is early 2000s. Because that was a lot of what I picked up with the Dollar Comics. Of course, I like the 80s. I like almost all DC. Except for current DC. And even that, I do pick up a lot of current DC books. But I really do like the early 2000s DC comics too. That's where I got a lot of good storylines. Like the post Infinite Crisis, I would say. Although I think this was 3, maybe? I don't know. Could be wrong yet again. It was enjoyable enough, and I think they had the full series at Newberry, and it was like $11.99. I could be wrong, but I think they had the full series at Newberry for $11.99. If I see it again, I'll probably get it. Full series, might as well. Second Coming, Volume 1. Again, a major surprise, because I thought it would be Mark Russell complaining about everything that's happened today, but through Jesus' eyes, and you made Jesus cry, and Jesus is so sad because one person doesn't like this, and one person doesn't like that, because one person doesn't like Black Panther. Oh, they're all racist and this. I thought one of those books, and thankfully it wasn't. It was just a story where Jesus comes back and he sees the injustice in today's world for good reasons, and it's not like he wants to change it, he wants to understand what's going on. He wants to bring, it's kind of like Mr. Rogers, if Mr. Rogers came back today, in a sense. Actually, it's exactly like that. And it's not just about him, too. It also focuses on Superman, too. I know it's not Superman, but it basically is. Well, he's a bit different. He's a bit more harder than Superman is. He's tired of people getting away with shit, and he wants to make the world a better place, whatever means, through whatever means necessary. And that is the Superman I have always been interested in seeing, so it further piqued my interest. It was just very enjoyable. I wanted to see what happened next, and there's only 2 volumes of the series, hopefully, because that's all I have in the library, so I'll finish it once and for all, and probably want to read it again the second I finish it. Skyward Volume 2, just as good as I remember it, read the series by Joe Henderson. If you're a Joe Henderson fan, read this comic. If you're not, read this comic. It's very enjoyable. There's 2 things I don't like about this comic. They're so small, I'm not gonna mention them. It's just one of the characters is basically an avocado as a girl, and it's not like I want him to say anything about it, but it's just one of those things that's why? And it's a very small nitpick, and it's just kind of one of those things that I feel like they're going for something, but I don't think they are. I didn't mention anything opposing or applauding it either, so don't even know why I mentioned it. Outcast Volume 2. Again, this is a good series. And I really hope they have Volume 8, because it's really the only reason why I'm rereading the first 7 volumes, so I can finally finish the series that I love so much. And because they only are missing 1 volume, and that was only because when I was reading Outcast, they just came. When I finished Volume 7, Volume 8 had just come out, and my library isn't like you getting books that just came out from Interloans, so I had to wait a little bit. Then because I had to wait so long, I forgot. If they don't have Volume 8 this time around, I'll probably skip the compendium. I won't mind it, honestly. It's that good of a series. It's only like $48 on Amazon, too. It's pretty cheap for a pretty thick trade. It's kind of funny, it's 48 issues, and it's $48. It's $1 per issue. Pretty sure it's 48 issues. I could be wrong. But this is such an enjoyable comic. It's horror comics done right, and it's Robert Kirkman at his best. Like, if you like his Walking Dead but want something different and still in the vein of horror, Outcast you should buy right now, without even knowing what it was about, honestly. If you want to see, like, Exorcist type shit in comic form, that's what this is. Not exactly it, obviously, but it's possession, exorcising demons, all that junk. And it's pretty scary, too, honestly. Like, there's a few things, like, it's more like what your mind picks up that makes it scarier, and it's like been proven to work. I guess how our minds work. We don't know when something isn't shown to us and rather implied or whatever like that, until actually shown. Our minds pick up a really, really disturbing take on what even the author can't think of, or isn't thinking of, rather. Wicked and Divine was. It's good. Actually, no, Volume 8, I liked it a little bit better than the previous time I read it. I think the previous time I read it, this is the one where they did all the specials in 1 volume. I skipped the one that was just text. It was an actual, textbook inside a book. I skipped that one. It was a book, like an actual story, like in a novel, but in comic book form. It wasn't even, but in, a magazine form, so it was longer than an actual book would be. It's all text in some word balloons and artwork, and that's why not just why would you do that? It's a comic book. It's a comic book, guys. I feel bad for people that paid $3.99 and didn't get a whole lot of artwork, and none of them were terrible. It was kind of like, why are we doing this? Why not make that Volume 9? Why not just do Volume 8 as the last of the series so they can get their fill in, and not have to wait even longer. And this one just felt weird. It was just, it's a lot of one-shots, so it wasn't furthering the story, it was just one-shots, Again, it wasn't bad, it was just passive. I don't know, it was just alright. It wasn't bad. I think they just needed to make that, the volume 0 or something. Which actually could be, because one of them takes place, one of them is technically a prequel to the series. Well, it is, but it is, technically. The other side is my pick of the week. This was written by Jason Aaron, and it's proof that maybe indie comics is where these guys should go that aren't writing as good, but they can be writing good because they've written good books in the past. And you feel like it's not because of, and you feel like there's something else going on that's not just them. That's because, I fell under the radar. No, it's this or that. Because the other side was so damn enjoyable. This came out in 2017. And why do I feel like I read this? I reviewed this already. So weird. I did that with, I forget what else, and I did it with that one too. But the other side, my pick of the week, go seek this book out. Even if you're not a fan of horror comics. I'm not a huge fan of war comics. I always say war comics. I feel like I'm saying horror comics. No, it's a war comic. It kind of is war. It kind of is horror. But it's more obviously war. But it's horrors of war. This is a war comic, and it's a war comic done right. It's very enjoyable. But also very hard-hitting, too. Because it's a war comic. Spider-Gwen, a lot of what I hated, but more of what I liked than what I hated again. I think sometimes Gwen, gets too, obnoxious, this is more house, more, she always has that M-U-H, more, and it's that kind of humor. It's what are you doing? Really? You're writing the character like this? I get that Gwen Stacy was a pretty paper-thin character, even Stan Lee had to admit that. There's a reason why they killed her off. But, this is how I'm gonna write her? Alright. And it wasn't, and she didn't do it all the time. It was just like maybe once, like very brief. And all the issues, he put them all the pages together, it probably make up like 5 pages. That's it. And they did not have Volume 2. They had Volume 2, but it was a Spider-Woman crossover that you have to read before you read Volume 2. It didn't have the crossover, so I guess I'm done. I hear that it got very bad very fast, and that basically at Volume 2 it got bad. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, pretty insufferable now. It's pretty stupid and pretty like for the first 4 volumes, first 3 I should say actually, this is the 4th volume. It wasn't too outlandish, and it's funny, it's like too outlandish and too like out of left field at times, and not just that, but every other line of dialogue this woman, Moon Girl, has is, "I'm the best there is," and it's like, actually, I'm the best. Actually, I'm the best. Actually, I'm the best. It's one that's so irritating because none of these other characters have done this, and they feel like with new characters, that's what they have to do to make them enjoyable. Make them likable. No, it makes them insufferable. But I read Squirrel Girl, and it's not nearly as bad as that. Squirrel Girl was everything I hate about modern comics, all rolled into one. If you want to know what I hate about modern comics, read Squirrel Girl. You probably won't be able to finish it, honestly. And this one, again, it wasn't bad, it was just, like, obnoxious sometimes. And it was a lot more obnoxious than the last 3 volumes have been. But I knew this was coming at the 3rd volume. It was especially because the third volume was called like the best there is, or smartest there is, I think it was. It's one of those things. It's like, why do you have to do that with characters? Anyways, Black Widow. What's DS? Oh, what's DS? I don't know. But Black Widow was very good. A little bit worse than what I remember, but not like. What's DS? I don't know, but Black Widow Volume 3 was. It's an Nathan Edmondson. I do recommend it, but I feel like it's too slow for Wonder Woman. For Black Widow, I could be wrong. I think it's just because I always consider, because the other one I read was Jodie Houser's run, and Jodie Houser's run was just amazing. I fully, wholeheartedly recommend that run, and it's the best run I have read of Black Widow, and it's because I read like 2. I read Greg Rucka's run is the best, but Jodie Houser's is the best I've read in a long time. I should have said it was the best ever, because now I'm gonna have ridiculously high expectations. How do you get Instagram to give you like only 2, like, you can modify your notifications? I get notifications I don't care about, and it's like, I don't want these. Next one up is Sin City, whatever DS was. I don't know why I thought I would know what it was if I abbreviated it. I should have. I don't know why I didn't, because I always know, like BW, Black Widow. Oh, Doctor Strange, duh. Doctor Strange, again, like with Volume 1, I'm not a huge fan of Doctor Strange, and clearly, and Jason Aaron's run is supposed to be one of the best Doctor Stranges of all time, like the run that got people into Doctor Strange. But for me, it's just like, it's nothing super good. It's just better than a lot of the Doctor Stranges I have read, but not even that. Like, it's just kind of like, it's good, not great. But I do want to see what happens at the end. Because it's only 4 volumes, he had a very short run. I might as well finish it. I read an orphaned issue of Mark Waid's run, and I really like that one. So maybe Mark Waid's run will be the one I like. Sin City. Sorry, I know I said Sin City was next. A very, very ugly comic, but in a good way. It's ugly because it deals with an ugly subject matter. It's being accused of a crime you didn't commit, and one of the worst crimes you can ever be accused of, besides terrorism. And it's just very, very ugly, and it gets uglier, but that's what Sin City is. Sin City is an ugly book. It's never going to be a comedy book. It's always going to be a huge drama, and always going to be super hard to get through. But it's still one of the best comics I have read in a long, long time. And it's Frank Miller at his absolute best. And this is the types of comics that we want. When people say, oh, you don't like politics in your comics, then what comics are you reading? And telling you the comic, you're not going to read a comic book that's going to be good, because you can't. You need to... I mean, I haven't read anything by her that was awful, but I haven't read anything by her that I actually liked. Even her Captain Marvel, which everyone likes, was... I don't feel like it was the best of the best. It was good enough, but it was just alright. I mean, her runs kept getting canceled too. And Sin City, if you want to write a political, I wouldn't even say this is political. Well, I guess you could say, it, yeah. Take notes from Sin City. Sin City is like probably the crowning achievement of what I've read thus far. And I would say pick of the week, but it's volume 5 or volume 4, and I can't keep picking Sin City. It's unfair. So the other side is my pick of the week. Then it's what's the other one? Oh, then it's Sin City, then Second Coming. I know I should say Sin City after Second Coming, but I really, really cannot stress enough how good Sin City is. I'm pretty sure you guys already know that, but it's super damn good. That is it. It's gone on for 40 minutes. I kind of want to get on the books I picked up today. That is it.